There were plenty of guys in those pools that were playing good, honest poker, and they didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve me multi-accounting. I began feeling really bad about what I was doing, and I just stopped multi after those 4 to 5 months.
He admitted to cheating, multi-accounting, ghosting, a real-time assistance, a $300,000 account seized, his name erased from leaderboards. But just months after his shocking confession, he showed up, sat down, and tried to play again. No disguise, no apologies, just the same old Ali Imsirovic, walking into yet another tournament like none of it ever happened. So how did it all go so wrong? Before the scandals, before the bans, before the headlines calling him a disgrace, Ali Imsirovic was the future of poker. Born in Bosnia and raised in the United States, he was barely old enough to rent a car when he started tearing up the high-stakes scene. At just 23 years old, he won back-to-back events at the Poker Masters in 2018, pocketing over $1.2 million in a single week. The poker world took notice. Fast, he was dominating. Imsirovic climbed the ranks with cold calculation and relentless aggression. By 2021, he had racked up 14 high roller titles, earned over $10 million, and was crowned both the Global Poker Index Player of the Year and the PokerGo Tour Player of the Year. The guy was everywhere: Aria, Triton, the US Poker Open, you name it, and no one wanted to be seated to his left. Commentators praised his game theory precision. He was ahead of his time, but while the poker world applauded, some players were already whispering something about his rise didn't sit right. And behind the sunglasses and solver-perfect decisions, a darker story was starting to take shape. It started as a murmur, quiet conversations between high-stakes regulars. Players began warning each other in private chats. The name Ali Imsirovic started popping up, not in praise, but in suspicion. The whispers were all the same: he was too sharp, too perfect. Some claimed he was multi-accounting, playing multiple entries in the same online tournament to increase his odds. Others believed he was using real-time assistance, solver software, feeding him mathematically optimal plays in real time. And then came the ghosting allegations, with rumors that he was coaching other players mid-game, guiding their decisions from behind the scenes. For a while, none of it stuck. No concrete proof, no public accusations, just tension simmering below the surface. But that all changed in April of 2022. That's when poker pro Alex Foxon broke the silence. In a scathing Twitter post, Foxon claimed that Imsirovic had been banned from GG Poker for multi-accounting and real-time assistance. He also accused Ali of dumping chips to his horses, players he allegedly staked or coached, and of manipulating deep tournament runs by controlling multiple accounts in the same event. Foxon wrote, "Ali is known as a cheater to almost all in the high roller community, but without ironclad proof, most stay silent." That silence was over. The post lit a fire under the poker world. Comment sections exploded. Pros who had once praised Imsirovic suddenly had nothing to say. Others came forward with similar stories: weird plays, unusual betting patterns, suspicious behavior. The poker community was starting to connect the dots. And then, just days later, a hand surfaced from the Super High Roller Bowl livestream, a hand that would become one of the most controversial moments in Ali's career. The accusations against Ali Imsirovic escalated fast, but the moment that turned suspicion into outrage came on a live broadcast. It was a hand from the Super High Roller Bowl. Imsirovic faced off on a flop with 3 diamonds. He held no diamond in his hand, just a naked bluff. Yet he barreled aggressively, taking a line that made 0 sense, unless he knew something no one else did. Sitting to his left was Paul Fua, and as the camera showed later, Paul held the ace of diamonds. To bluff in that spot with 0 diamond blockers is statistically reckless, unless you somehow know your opponent can't have the ace. And that's what made people stop and ask the uncomfortable question: did Ali see Paul's cards? The footage showed Ali glancing in Paul's direction before making his move. It was subtle, but in a game where edges are measured in fractions, it was enough to ignite the community. Solver experts chimed in. They ran the hand through high-level poker software. The bluff line? It was a near impossibility, not something even elite players would attempt, unless they were absolutely certain the ace was dead. Ali returned the next day wearing sunglasses. The implication was obvious. He knew eyes were on him now. But while the poker world debated what he might have seen on the felt, a new twist emerged, off the felt, in a completely different game: chess. Ali had quietly played a series of online chess matches against high-stakes pro Chris Brewer. Over 7 rapid games, Imsirovic's move accuracy averaged over 95%, according to chess.com's analysis. To put that in perspective, the reigning world chess champion Ding Liren, in his 10 most recent online games, averaged roughly 92%. Ali had outperformed the best chess player alive, and it wasn't just one match. It was 7 straight games, all showing grandmaster level precision. Then the scores dropped. Subsequent games under the same account showed typical accuracy in the 60s, 70s, and even a 38% match. No prize money, no broadcast, just pride. And still, he allegedly cheated. It left people wondering, if he's willing to cheat when nothing is on the line, what would he do with millions at stake? The story was no longer just about poker, it was about a pattern, a mindset, and the realization that for some people, cheating isn't just a tactic, it's a habit. In June of 2023, Ali Imsirovic broke his silence. He uploaded a nearly 30-minute video to his wife's YouTube channel, not his own, and for the first time addressed the scandal directly. His tone was calm, his delivery rehearsed, and yet, within the first few minutes, he made a bombshell admission. I began multi-accounting during the lockdowns. It was a really bad mistake. I did it for about 4 to 5 months before I stopped. According to Ali, he started cheating because he believed others were cheating too. In his words, it was a way to survive, a way to compete on equal footing. But beneath the justification was a pattern of deflection, not accountability. He spoke about shady behavior in the online fields, accused others of card sharing and teaming up. He positioned himself as someone reacting to corruption, not causing it, as if multi-accounting was a necessary evil in a dirty game. But he didn't stop there. Ali admitted to doing it again. After the initial scandal, after the bans, after the damage was already done, he played again. He said he was angry, frustrated, that the accusations hurt, and in response he returned to online poker for a few Sundays and multi-accounted again. I lashed out, he said. I wasn't going to be able to drive much income anymore, so I needed a revenue stream. For 6 more Sundays, he cheated. He knew the poker community had turned on him. He knew the damage was already enormous, and still, he logged on with multiple accounts, stole entry spots from other players, and tried to re-enter the game from the shadows. At no point did he deny the original GG Poker ban.
$320,000 on my GG Poker account, and it was seized. Their response to me was that I was banned for the Munker charts as well as multi-accounting.
In fact, he confirmed that $320,000 was seized from his account. He said he didn't even contest it, that it was his punishment and he accepted it. But when it came to the more serious allegations, real-time assistance, ghosting, collusion, Ali denied everything. He called the ghosting rumors ridiculous, claimed he didn't even have horses anymore, and said the idea of him running a stable was fantasy. He also denied ever using RTA, explaining that it was too difficult, too impractical, and not something he was capable of pulling off. But the poker world wasn't buying it, because scattered throughout the video were subtle contradictions, a confession to one form of cheating, followed by excuses for another, a quiet admittance of guilt, followed by long rants about being misunderstood. At times, he even accused his accusers, suggesting that some of the people calling him out had cheated themselves. He named no names, but strongly implied that others in the high-stakes world were just as guilty, if not more. Some of these guys have been using solver charts since 2018, he said. One of them is banned from multiple sites. Another one was multi-accounting 5K tournaments back in the day. Instead of a clean apology, the video became something else. A strange blend of damage control, retaliation, and blurred truth. He admitted just enough to appear honest, but not enough to be trusted. And most of all, he gave the poker world the one thing it didn't want from him: more doubt. After his confession video, many thought Ali Imsirovic would disappear from poker altogether. He had admitted to cheating, not once, but twice. He had been banned from the largest online site in the world. $320,000 had been seized from his account. His name was toxic, his image shattered. But instead of stepping away, Ali tried to come back, quietly. No press release, no apology tour. Just a return to live poker, as if nothing had happened. At first it was subtle, a few appearances at events, cash games in rooms where he wasn't officially banned. Then, in February of 2025, he crossed a line that even his most vocal critics couldn't believe. Ali Imsirovic showed up to play the $1,500 main event at the Champions Club Winter Poker Open in Houston, Texas. He registered, he sat down, and within minutes, he was banned. Word spread fast. The moment staff realized who he was, tournament officials escorted him out and disqualified him from the event. He hadn't broken any rules that day, but his past was too radioactive to ignore. The Champions Club wasn't the only place drawing the line. Just 2 months later, in May of 2025, Imsirovic entered the $1,200 Run Good Poker Series main event at Best Bet Jacksonville in Florida. He played for several hours, he was even chip leader at the dinner break, and then he was gone. Security removed him from the property mid-tournament. No explanation was given to the public, but insiders knew exactly why. His name, his history, his presence alone was seen as a violation of integrity. In the span of 3 years, Ali had gone from PokerGo's golden boy to a walking liability. He wasn't just banned from online poker. Now, brick-and-mortar casinos, rooms that once welcomed him with cameras and cash, were shutting him out the moment he walked in. The community was making it clear, a confession doesn't erase the damage. Not when the cheating was intentional, not when it was repeated, and not when the comeback attempt feels like another bluff. Ali Imsirovic's return didn't go unnoticed, but it also didn't go unpunished. As soon as news spread of his disqualification in Texas and removal in Florida, the poker community erupted. Again, social media lit up with familiar faces weighing in, high-stakes pros, former friends, even casual players who had once looked up to him. Some were furious, others were confused, but nearly everyone had the same reaction. Why is he still trying to play? Players like Doug Polk and Justin Bonomo had already made their positions clear. Months earlier, Bonomo had reposted a tweet offering a $100,000 reward for anyone with concrete evidence of Ali's cheating, urging anyone in his circle to come forward and start a clean life. Phil Nagy, the CEO of America's Card Room, had offered that reward, openly daring Ali's former stablemates to expose him fully. It was a public bounty with a message. The poker world was done tolerating silence, but Ali didn't fold. Instead of disappearing, he doubled down by showing up to events he had to know would reject him. Instead of issuing further apologies or taking real accountability, he offered counterattacks. Because whether or not those accusations were true, Ali's attempt to drag others down with him didn't feel like redemption. It felt like deflection. Instead of opening the door to transparency, he was slamming it shut and locking it from the inside. Meanwhile, PokerGo had quietly removed his name from tour records. GG Poker kept him permanently banned, and despite his skill, despite his early accomplishments, Ali Imsirovic had become the ultimate example of wasted talent in modern poker. His name was no longer associated with brilliance. It was now a cautionary tale, a story other players use to remind themselves what happens when the game's integrity gets compromised. Because when one of the most successful young pros of the decade cheats, and does it more than once, the trust between players, fans, and the industry doesn't just crack, it shatters. By now, Ali Imsirovic's story reads like a Greek tragedy. A gifted prodigy rises to the top of the poker world, young, unstoppable, and universally feared at the table. He wins titles, money, respect, and then, in the pursuit of even more, he throws it all away. He didn't just bend the rules, he broke them. Quietly at first, then brazenly, and when he was finally caught, he did what so many gamblers do when the stakes get too high. He tried to bluff his way out. The confession should have been a turning point, a moment of honesty, but instead of coming clean completely, he confessed only to the bare minimum, just enough to make himself seem self-aware, not enough to earn back trust. And then he played again, not because he was welcomed back, not because the poker world gave him another chance, but because he decided that he could. That arrogance, that belief that talent somehow outweighs ethics, is exactly what tore his reputation apart in the first place. It's what got him banned, not just from websites, but from casinos, from events, from the very community that once called him the future. And yet, maybe the most tragic part of all this is that Ali Imsirovic didn't have to cheat. He was good, really good. A once-in-a-generation player who could read situations better than most and had the results to prove it. He had the respect of the poker elite. He had sponsorships, awards, a place in the conversation for best young player of the decade. But talent without integrity is a ticking time bomb. And in a game built on trust, where every hand, every chip, every tournament relies on the unspoken agreement that no one is gaming the system, Ali detonated his own legacy. Now, when people say his name, they don't talk about the 14 high roller titles, or the $10 million in winnings, or the time he ran over the poker masters like it was a home game. They talk about the bans, the lies, the cheating, the chess match, the confession, the attempted comeback, and the fact that no matter how much potential he once had, he will now be remembered for the one thing poker players value above all else: what he broke. But believe it or not, Ali Imsirovic isn't the only one. There's another pro who didn't just cheat, he did it on a live stream in front of the entire poker world, caught red-handed, with the cameras rolling. If you thought this story was wild, wait until you see what happened next.